Okay, we're going to take a look and see what these threads look like. Today, we continue to try to fix Subaru. I bought a bunch of tap and die kits, and my original plan was to take one of these bolts and turn it down to 10 millimeter from 11 millimeter, and then use a insert and thread that out to that's a little larger than the current bolt, so it'll grab. Well, that's not long enough, and I can't get it in there, and I can't get an angle to feed it. It's a size that I could probably do without drilling, but I can't get a long enough tap.
If you're curious what we're talking about, this is our 2004 Subaru Impreza, and we have got this side on. We've got the head gasket replaced and everything. That's been in previous videos. Link will be around there somewhere. And this side here,
everything's good except for center, and it was stripped. The threads aren't completely gone, but they're gone to the point that it won't torque.
Which explains why it had a slight oil leak.
And it's probably why they abandoned. I have a feeling that's why that side was so horrible, because everything else is to spec except for this one. They probably stripped it and then just call the engine dead.
Yeah.
Well, to properly tap it and rethread it, you've got to pull the block. You should be able to do it without pulling the head and pulling the block if you could find one of these that was long enough, which I have not been able to do, not in the size I need.
Yeah. Plus, we are running out of money on this project. We are over budget and out of time. Yeah.
So now I'm going to go back to an old trick, which is you take copper wire, and I don't know if I'm going to use this much, and I'll put a dab of high temp sealant on the top to hold the wires. So this will be pre-set up, but you place them around. You use copper wire, thin copper wires, and what this does is this tightening. The copper will be pressed in and take form of the threads and will increase the clearance, and it can make it bite. I've done this on non-engine components with a good bit of success, but never to the torque rating that I'm doing on this, because it's supposed to be 85 foot-pounds at the end of it, and I don't think I've ever gone beyond 50 doing this. So I'm not 100% sure it's going to work. But the fact that I'm going to have to drill out the bore anyways, I'll be clearing this stuff out if it does come to that. So I think I'm going to try it.
In other words, if you got fingers, toes, eyeballs, cross them all for us, please.
Yeah.
Send up a prayer.
This is kind of Hail Mary before you send it to a machine shop.
Yeah.
And there's several ways you can do it. You can just wrap it into the threads, but I've not had as good a luck with doing that as I have with doing this. And I tried again. I'm going to space it out a little better so that they're spaced out so you have a little bit on each thread. And I may have to cut down the number of wires. It's trying to guesstimate how many wires I need in there to get the proper extra material. And normally I just use 1 or 2 threads, but this time,
since we're going to 85.
Yeah, I'm hoping the extra material, copper's soft so it'll crush. But
this is one of those things where, Vice Grip Garage always has that bit in there. Don't use this advice unless you're really super desperate.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those situations.
Yes.
Because, yeah. And I'm going to do a little bit of high temp. So I have something to set this. High temp is not to make a seal, really. It's just to hold these in place. So it's easier to feed the bolt in.
Yeah. And plus, as I said before, if we got to tap it, all that's going to get cleared out in the tap anyways if we have to tap it.
Yeah, so. I'll be drilling all this stuff out and clearing it anyways. So it's kind of, well, I'm at the point I can't do it the right way. I've tried to do it the right way. I've spent a month trying to do it the right way. I can't do it without removing the engine. I cannot justify removing the engine. So if this doesn't work, this is actually just a piece of the wire I stripped. All you've missed so far is me stripping the wire to get these threads.
So, yeah, by justifying moving the engine, guess what he'd have to fix and get out of here to have room to move the engine? Give you 3 guesses. First 2 don't count. I'm zooming in on it now.
One of these days I'll find that friggin' bracket, then I can finish putting it together.
Yeah.
I still don't know where that bracket could have gotten off to.
Or we just get a welding kit at this point. I think it might be cheaper and easier just to get a cheap welding kit.
But now I just gotta let that set.
Alrighty-o.
And come back out here and I'll bolt that in and cross my fingers.
So either the next scene you're going to see is him clicking it in to 85 and saying this works,
yep,
or him going super saddy face.
Mm-hmm. Or me saying, sorry to whoever buys this and using red thread lock.
Yeah. So we are waiting until tomorrow on this, giving it 24 hours to cure before we try to put it in.
It should. Okay, the cylinder's cooled overnight, so it's bound the wires so they won't just come off as I put it in. And I'm going to feed it in. Got the engine jacked up. Unhooked. These just push out. Squeeze and push out. Unhook that so I could get it high, a little higher. You got to watch your CV joints and everything for how high. I can't put this any higher without having to, disconnect stuff. But I got this started. And now I just got to hope it'll bite. And it's biting. So that's a good sign. And we had a bit where we tried. I've got all the stuff to put threads in. But,
it's over here somewhere. I can't find where it's at.
Right here. I got this one's the 11 millimeter, so you didn't have to redo the bolt. But you have to do a whole lot of drilling, which I can't do with the engine in. Then I bought this set where I can get a 10 millimeter, which are these, which I could just rim out the 11 and not have to drill. But I just have to rethread. I can't get that in there without losing it. That was fun getting that back out. But then I was going to rethread. I got a die to rethread one of these bolts down to the 10 millimeter. Abandoned that. Now I'm back to what I was going to do originally, which I could have done and not bought all that stuff.
If this holds at the appropriate...
I'm going to find my 14 millimeter. There it is. That's
yeah.
It. If this will hold, but this is before. If it doesn't hold, I'm going to either have to buy yet another $60 threader, a deep threader.
Yeah, Granger has one that's literally $60. Mm-hmm. That looks like we can actually order. There's a lot of companies that claim they make it, but you have to have specialty freaking accounts with them.
Have to knock that in first. Not one to buy it yet. Canada's invading. Agents of Claw are at it again.
I think Inspector Gadget every time I hear that.
Agents of Claw are at it again.
Yes.
And here's the hard part about doing this, is just getting it to start. I may have to reduce the number of wires because it's not biting. Oh, maybe it is biting.
As I say, that looks like it's... From our end, the non-touching it end, it looked like it was gripping, but... Tornado test is done. What's funny is I actually hear tornado sirens more here than when I lived near Tornado Alley.
Oh, but they never sound when it's a tornado. We've actually had a tornado go just north of town. The sirens didn't sound.
Of course. I've actually seen more tornadoes growing up in Georgia than I did when I lived in Tornado Alley. Those tropical storms, they don't play. They'll spout off tornadoes like nobody's business.
Wire's twisted off.
So it's still doing the spinny, no grippy, grippy.
Do it. I can wrap it with wire. Instead of having it on the end, it's not necessarily going to work better, but I'll take a screwdriver and pull that stuff out and try it the other way.
Yep. Looks like we're going to Granger, probably.
Yeah, I got one more to try, which I tried it this way because this was the more, if it had bit, it would work better. But I think what happened is I actually spun the wires off. So the wires are just in the end, which I'm going to get a screwdriver and pull it out.
I'm not going to show that because, well, all you'll see is that. You won't be able to see him doing anything.
Yeah, it's just going to have that going in the hole to pull the wires out.
Go ahead.
Another attempt, because he keeps breaking the wires, and you'll see a bunch of little strings of silver or copper down there. So I did some wrapping, a bunch more, and hopefully this will stay on the bolt instead of being pushed out of the hole.
And if it pushed out again, well, we're going to buy a part.
Probably.
So
I think it's cut the wires off and pushed them out again.
You're avoiding the camera. You really are upset about this. Oh, well. Yeah, so it looks like we're gonna, we're buying something. This is why you come here, for my great camera work and commentary. It should have gripped by now and you'd be torquing it.
Well, the bolt's still not down, and it is biting into something, so maybe it's catching.
Yeah, who knows?
I'll do it a whole way, because now it's got some tension against it. So maybe it's still holding.
Okay, say that again.
So maybe I've built enough copper up in there that on the threads that it's got something to bite onto now. The whole point is to make everything a little closer, because there are threads. It's just they're not letting you tighten it up anymore.
Yeah. There's threads there, but there's not enough material on the threads to hold pressure. So this adds a little bit of material. In theory. Well, that didn't look like it worked.
Yeah, the wire stayed on there, but it did not bite like I needed it to.
So what's our next step here?
Next step is I've got one more trick I can try with some coarser wire. And you do just cut it. You cut the coarse wire, be more like this, with a coarser strand. Be a coarser strand like this. And try it kind of the same way as a combo. Or actually the best way to do it is going to be to get one that's long enough that I can slide it on both sides of the bolt and actually have it come out of the hole. I'll just have to stop before it goes all the way in and clip it if it does catch.
Place your bets now.
Alright. Trying steel wire, since I'm going to have to cut and thread it anyways. Copper wire you do so it doesn't hurt teeth as bad. Steel wire is probably not even going to feed, but I'm going to try it. I've got some thicker copper wire to try too, which will be the same trick. You pull it and bend it over and push it through. And it will cut on these edges, and it should cut on those edges. But, yeah. I could potentially heat it up, but I'm not entirely sure, and try to beat it into the threads. Well, press it into the threads, I should say.
At this point, we're one step away from just spending money on the tool and buying the tool to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
We're just seeing if this works, because if not, well, heck, we got to recut the threads anyway.
This is just a trial to see if it cuts the wire. It did not, so I might be able to push that in there. What I'll end up doing is pushing this back. I'm not going to be able to do the double, but I'll probably do a single. But it's held a lot better. So I'll do a single wire back, push it in, see if it bites. I just want to see what it would do. Start with the copper wrap one did not work, which was trial number 1, which is something I have had that work before, but not on something exactly like an engine block like this.
I think last time you said you used it for
A suspension component. Put out bolt on a suspension component. Tappy, so it gets a little bite in there.
So what's going on?
I don't know if it's going. It doesn't seem to be moving, so I don't think I'm actually getting it to move anywhere. So I'm gonna have it put pressure and try again.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it looks to have embedded metal into the threading properly and tightened it up, but not enough. I'm going to try to run it again on this side, opposite side, and see what it does.
See if we get more embedded metal and it gives...
get more bite.
Yeah. So who knows? We may be lucky here, have a good grip. Or we may be unlucky here and it give us a slip.
It's probably just crammed into a puck at the very end of the...
So we got concerned face going on.
Yeah, this time tightening in, I put wire on the other side. It bit and put threading on this side. When I put it on that side, it went down like the wire. It never even touched. After I got it going, it didn't want to start. Once it got started and past the first of it, it went in like it wasn't touching anything.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we're going to take a look and see what these threads look like. You can see the copper feed and what little bit of threads there are. And that's where it actually hits the threads.
Yeah, so y'all can see there is very little threads in the thing.
You can see where the copper is built up, where there's the least amount of threads. There's just not enough in there.
Yeah.
And it is doing what I thought. The bottom is actually going to be over here, be this side. And I noticed when I ran the screwdriver cleaning stuff out that it felt like there was no threads, and there isn't. I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but you can tell the threads are higher on this side than that side.
Wallered out, to pull a word that I used to use in the South. Wallered out. That is the very definition of that. We're going to have to recut those threads probably.
Carl likes to pronounce it wathered.
What's bad is it almost looks like someone already tried to recut the threads and didn't do a good job.
Mm.
And there's a low battery.
Yeah, but how well did they do that job right?
Probably not.
Why aren't these bolts threaded all the way down? Why are they only threaded at the very end?
That's a question for the manufacturer.
And that was it for the camera.
Yep. So, I guess we're buying a tool.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
All right.
Which means it's going to be more weeks of not doing anything.
Okay, so we'll do probably another movie review.
Yep.
Alrighty,
Charge this thing.
and charge that thing.
So
And
until next time, this, as you saw, it actually did build material up on the threads. If there wasn't a section of threads that are completely gone, it may have worked. But there's just not enough threads there for this to work.
yeah, and this is why you don't just send it on these things. You never just send it on this type of a thing.
Yeah. So,
The previous mechanic on this engine, yes,
did horrible things.
that'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the sum of it.
If you break or barring your head bolts, maybe you don't need to work on an engine.
Although, one last thing I will show.
Um,
I am going to do a cleaning thing and show you how to make one of those. This is a piece of steel wire. And I'm just making kind of a cleaning barb. I'm using the bolt as a sizing.
I say
And that'll help clean stuff out of there.
we get bolts that are just a little bit bigger.
I've tried. I can't find
turn
any.
them into make self tappers. Just
I've tried and I can't find anything. This is a 10 millimeter shaft with an 11 millimeter thread. I can't find anything that will work and not have too big a shaft to fit in there.
So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with right now. We are at a standstill on this. Either this will get fixed, or this will become an electric car. We'll do an electric conversion or something.
Yeah, if I can't fix this, I'll slap it back together. We'll do what we can with it. See what creativeness I can do with it.
Yes,
Loctite.
Yeah, red Loctite.
we'll do something. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it working to where it's not burning oil, it's not burning coolant, and it works properly.
Which it shouldn't be now. This side hadn't failed yet, but I don't want it to fail, so